Hello, I'm with Fi Martynoga today, and I've come to see you, Fi, because I know you're a bit of an expert in foraging.
Yes, it's one of my pleasures.
And you're showing me these little strawberries.
Yeah, a completely wild strawberry. And they're growing here in my garden because I brought them here.
But this isn't really your garden, is it? This is your drive.
Yeah, it's the wild bits. There's
Yeah.
plenty of wild bits. I'm lucky enough to have quite a big bit of land, so I've got wild bits. But these, I think, originated on the Need Path Viaduct near Peebles, and they reproduced with runners. So I will have brought back just a little runner like that years and years ago and popped it in, and they love this stony sort of surface.
They're doing really well, aren't they?
The other place I got them was on the Melrose bypass when they were digging up the railway track to put in the road.
Right.
I mean, donkeys years ago. And there were lots of these, and I actually took some plants. They live around the other side of the house, and they're subtly different from these. But the grandchildren know which are the best, and they swoop on this patch first, and then they do the other ones.
But you would find them, you're saying the railway patches, because it's a stony groundy like, isn't it? So
Yes.
that's where to look for them.
And sometimes grassy banks. And I love them because they are the first thing that I picked when I was a 4-year-old. And I remember with a little old-fashioned thermos cup picking these things, and that was in a limestone.
You would get a
pipe.
lot in a little cup because they are tiny.
Yes. that
See,
was brilliant.
I'm really concerned that a lot of people live in flats and they don't have gardens. And so show us more things that you could go out and find just
I will.
foraging in the country.
Here's a plant that grows all over the place. It's the pea family. It's the common vetch, this one. And it has this little purpley flower. Do you see that?
Ah, lovely.
Now, surprisingly, this is edible. Now, I wouldn't say don't go eating the pods and the seeds because some vetches have poisonous seeds, like laburnum, which is the same family.
These are the seeds that you would not eat.
Don't eat those.
Yeah,
They look like fairy peas and they're pretty, but don't eat them. But this little top shoot with a tender green leaf and a little buddy flower, I find very delicious in salad and also rather pretty. Have a taste. See what you think. It's got a good flavour. You tell me what the flavour's of.
Tastes like peas.
It does, but with a slightly rough texture.
Very rough texture. It's an odd texture.
A bit woolly. But if you put them in with
mixed
some
in
lettuce,
would be nice. Yeah.
it's nice. Yes, and
It's
a bit of
very
lettuce.
like peas, isn't it?
It's quite a good strong flavour, isn't it?
Quite different.
Lovely in the spring, and they're probably a bit more tender in the spring. And this plant, I'm sure you know.
There's the oregano, isn't it?
Well, yeah, wild
Marjoram.
marjoram is what we call it. Again, this was brought in as seed from a railway line. They're quite good. There's gravelly surfaces. All sorts of things grow in them. And it's very aromatic. You can use it on your pizza. Chop it up. You can use it fresh.
Wow.
You can use it dry. It'll serve you all the year. You don't have to have plants on your balcony. You can just go and find it in the wild. Dry it out. You could dry it out just a few leaves.
Do you know, I really like drying them for dried flowers. That's what I usually do with them. And you can, if you just hang them upside anywhere.
In a bunch.
In a bunch, maybe 4 or 5 stems in a bunch in your kitchen somewhere. And let them dry out, and you get this lovely mixture of the
Sort of
pale
dark
pink
purpley
and the
and pale
winey
pink.
colour. And it's,
Very nice.
and then you've got a lovely vase of flowers that'll last you a year.
Brilliant, isn't it?
It's
Just
brilliant,
for the
yes.
free. And
Yes.
that thrill of having found something in the wild.
Yes.
It's always rewarding.
Yeah.
We'll walk through here. We're going to get past more wild strawberries that have just happened. They happen everywhere.
Yeah.
And we're going to look at these. Which
Raspberries?
is one of, yes, but I didn't plant these. They came. They're pretty wild. They happen to be the yellowy golden ones.
Oh, they're
birds
delicious.
been up that one.
Oh.
Bother. A few minutes ago, that was a perfect raspberry.
You have to be quick.
You do. I don't think I should recommend you eat that.
Oh,
Try
there's one,
that
there's
one.
one.
Try that one, Jan.
Now that you would almost not recognise that as a raspberry because of the colour, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
Or
but
you'd think it wasn't ripe. But
it's ripe, all right.
oh, it's delicious. It's
Most
ripe,
of the wild raspberries you find all over the place in Scotland are in fact red, but some of them are very wee and some are much bigger. Flavour
one's
varies.
delicious.
Yes, flavour. They can be just the best, just the best.
And they're all along the river here, aren't they?
Yes, you find them on the edges of woods.
Yeah,
You'll find them in Cardrona Forest. You know, they are all over the place. Don't go too far because I want to show you something.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Here.
Make great jam, the raspberries, don't they?
Well, they do, but to get wild raspberry jam, you have to be quite diligent picking up. Here we are. This is a lime tree. This particular one's got slightly curled leaves at the moment. They should be struck out like that. You'll find lime trees in parks and gardens everywhere. And about a month ago, in early July, or maybe a little earlier if you live in Edinburgh or Fife or somewhere warmer, this bracty flower, instead of seeds, would have had 3 little pale yellowy flowers, and you can smell them, and the bees smell them, so you know that the tree's in flower because you tend to hear the buzzing of the bees. And if you I would pick about 3 of those with the trees, with the flowers actually out, and pop them in a mug and infuse them with boiling water. Leave it for a few minutes, perhaps 5 minutes, and you've got a most delicious drink.
Good before you go to bed, aren't they? Because they help you relax and sleep.
That's
better.
right. The French call it tilleul, from the Latin name of the plant is tilia.
Yeah.
And it's meant to calm you down. Come into my vineyard. Well, here is a hazel tree that I've got growing here. This is entirely native plant to this part of Scotland, and in fact the Highlands as well. We don't see enough of them around Peeblesshire because of the heavy level of grazing it's suffered for centuries. But there are places, and the edges of woodland, the edges of burns sometimes, and there's a wood between Inleaton and Peebles on the hillside that's a hazel wood, difficult to get at. See, that's a leaf that's more typical. It's a bit like the lime leaf, it's slightly different shape. And of course what we're all waiting for is the nuts. Can you see these, Jan?
How pretty they are, aren't they?
They are very pretty things. They've got this beautiful colour. You've probably only ever seen that, well, most people have only ever seen that on a chocolate hazel advertisement,
Yes.
They're not quite ripe yet. The seed is fully formed, but it isn't inside. And the way you tell that they're ripe is you just take them like that, give them a wee sugar.
It's like an of a tree, isn't it?
Yeah, if it will come away easily, the nut is ripe. If it doesn't, just leave it alone. We've learnt this from gathering seed for Corypha and wildwood. It just the seed's tiny inside it.
Will it be brown when it's ready?
No, it'll be a pale thorny sort of colour. And it feels velvety. Just feel it. It's lovely.
Oh, it is.
The
It's
thing
so
to do
soft.
if you
it's
want,
like a baby's skin. It's gorgeous.
it's gorgeous. Yes. I don't like them when they're milky. Some people do. When they're ripe on the tree, they're fully expanded into that space, but they still taste milky. To get the classic hazelnut flavour, you need to bury them for a month or 2. And that's what people do. Or I suspect industrially, they just put them into some sort of drying room. But you're waiting at least a couple of months.
You just bury it in the soil, like a squirrel.
Well, I'd put them in something and then bury them in the ground. Or
Would it be
maybe
porous, like a sack?
a sack or something, so you could retrieve them.
Right. Oh.
Yes. I have done it in the past,
Okay.
but it's only a few years where you... Well, yeah, of course, the fact that squirrels are good at remembering. It's the jays that don't remember where they put them, and cause the trees to grow. We've arrived at my nettle patch.
Fabby.
It's great, but it's not in good condition at the moment. I don't need nettles just now because the garden's absolutely full of vegetables. But earlier in the year, really April, May, beginning of June, there's not much. I mean, even not much spinach or anything, chard, it's not there. And so these are my principal greens, and they're absolutely full of minerals and vitamins, the things you want. But you actually must not eat them at this stage. Look at them, they're old and horny. See, that's actually in seed, that's in flower. And when they get to this stage, they're full of a silica that's actually quite bad for you. So to get 2 crops off them, I cut them right back. And if anybody strims, they get them cut right back.
Because some of them, that one looks quite nice.
That one's not bad, but it's quite wee. That's the problem. Second growth is often a bit small. But I think just up there was some new growth nettle, probably one of the seeded. Yes, look at this.
Right. Oh yes.
There we are. Look at that. That's how a spring nettle looks. It's a slightly lighter green, and they're much more tender. And I can use the whole of that. So I will get a small basket full of those. I'll fry up an onion, 1 big potato, cook it up, chuck the nettles in, cook them through a minute or two, and then blitz it with the handheld liquidizer. That's my soup.
Oh, fab.
Bit of salt and pepper.
Do you know, I tend to use it just in tea. It makes a really
It's
nice
quite a pungent tea, yes.
Yeah, I quite like it.
Yeah, I quite like it too, but the nettle soup is very good for you. And there's a
Yes.
tradition in Scotland, in the Highlands, that you should have 7 nettle meals a year to keep you healthy. And of course it's there just when you, after winter, when you're vitamin depleted.
Yes,
And so
yes.
it's a bit of really sound folklore, that.
7 helpings of
7 meals
7 meals of nettles.
in nettles. Come into my vegetable garden. Oh no, there's something else I want to show you first.
Uh-huh.
Look at this. This is the elder
Oh,
tree.
the elder.
Yes. Have a look at this quickly. This, about a month or 6 weeks ago, would have had a beautiful hand full of tiny white flowers.
that's frothy.
Really frothy.
Frothy
sort of-
lace, yeah.
Yeah. And I pick them when they're like that, when it's in full sun and they're fragrant, and dry them. A lot of people pick them and make syrup. I'm trying not to use sugary
Yes,
stuff.
I don't
So,
like the sugar
so I
either.
dry them and I make tea, and I'll show you the tea.
So how do you dry them?
I'll show you when we get round
Okay,
there.
right.
But these are going to turn black in about another 6 weeks, and I also pick those, and I dry the berries as well, and I'll show you them how they are when they're
Do you
dried.
make a rob with them? Do you make a
No, I
syrup
don't.
or-
Again, I don't introduce sugar into that
Right.
one. I just use them as a tea.
Excellent.
Yeah. So very useful plant. They reckon that it's actually got antiviral properties as well as being full of vitamin
Wow.
C.
You heard it first here.
I make no claims, but you know, there it is in the wild. So let's go through and I'll
Okay.
show you these teas. Right, I want to show you the dried things. And first the elderflower, because we've only just missed that season.
Yes.
And
Still recognisable.
here they are. That's a great big canister
Oh,
because I
the
use a
smell
lot
is
of this.
lovely.
It's strong. For a pot like that, that's a generous amount actually. I don't really need to put that much in. And you want a slice of lemon, about the much as
Oh,
you put
yes.
in a gin and tonic,
Right.
and
Standard measure, yes.
leave it to infuse for a good few minutes. And there you go. Very gently coloured tea. It's not strong colour. It doesn't look too much. Too yellow. Cheers.
Oh, that's delicious. That is lovely.
And it's really refreshing. If you make too much in the pot, simply let it go cool.
I could imagine this with ice cubes in. Yeah.
And it's a wonderful summer drink, and
Yeah.
no sugar.
No sugar.
You know, because all that commercial elderflower that we find, that we buy, is laden with sugar.
No.
But it's much more refreshing like that. Now, these are the elderberries that I've dried. When they're fresh, they don't taste very nice. They're actually nicer dry.
Oh, they're like little raisins. They're soft.
Yes, yes. They've been dried in a dehydrating machine, which is a quick way to do it. But very few people will have these things. But
So how, if you don't have a dehydrator, how do you
you
dry
put them
it?
on a tray and you put them over a radiator or in an
Right.
airing cupboard or something
Right.
like that, and keep giving them a little shake
Could
from
you
time
put them
to
in the
time.
bottom of an oven? That
You
was just
could.
cooling down or something?
Yes, you could, but you mustn't split them.
No.
So there we go. Those are the elderberries, and a good teaspoonful of those, and a slice of lemon again in a cup. And it's a cold. It prevents it. You feel the first tickle in your nose.
yeah.
Start taking that, and takes perhaps 3 cups of that in a day, and the next day, and the next day. For me, that works.
Very high vitamin C content.
Very high.
Yeah.
But so these. The
Oh my goodness,
children
what
in
are they?
wartime were sent out to pick. There's actually lots of people in Scotland still remember gathering rose hips
Yes.
for syrup. But again, it was syrup. I don't do that. I gather the smooth wild rose,
Yeah.
which is the dog rose, Rosa canina.
Yeah. As opposed to
There's lots of ones, if you feel them, they're hairy, they're very hairy. Those hairs are quite irritant, and there's an irritant inside it. You don't want to split them. So I gather the smooth ones when they're bright red, and again I dry them on trays over a heat source.
right.
It takes quite a long time. It takes about a week to dry them up.
Okay.
And then,
Again, they feel almost raisiny.
yeah, they've
They're
gone
not so hard that
wrinkly.
you can't squish them.
No, and I put them. I'll simmer those in a
What,
little
a whole
pot.
handful.
Yeah, a whole handful. I'll simmer in a pot
Right.
for a few minutes,
Right.
and then let them cool. I sometimes just leave it overnight to really steep,
Right.
and then I can reheat them, and they go in my thermos flask, and that's the drink I use on the hill.
Perfect.
It's delicious.
Perfect. Thank you, Fi. That's given me loads of ideas.
Good. Well, we're coming into autumn when there'll be loads more to find.
So great for people that don't have a garden. You can go out and find all this stuff just having a wee walk down a river or
That's
a
right.
country lane.
Yes.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. I've enjoyed it.